Welcome to Women Finding Clarity, the podcast that ignites your inner power and guides you on a journey to uncover the boundless potential of the universe in life and in business. I'm Pascal Cook Fernandez, your host and life transformation coach. Join me each week as we align our energies, elevate our businesses, and thrive in every aspect of life. In each episode, we dive deep into topics like the secrets of raising your vibration, crafting irresistible offers, and amplifying your impact. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, this podcast is your compass to navigate the realms of limitless success. If you are ready to align your energy, elevate your business, and truly thrive, subscribe to Women Finding Clarity now and get ready to embark on a life-changing journey. Until next time, stay empowered and keep seeking clarity. And remember, the universe is abundant and success is your birthright. Let's align, elevate, and thrive together, one conversation at a time. As you are translating your PhD in life into a profitable business, one of the pillars of good customer service, good human service, I will say, is being able to hold space. And so that's what I want to talk about this week before I introduce this evening's guest. Holding space is truly a profound skill that can greatly benefit your clients as they navigate life transformations, as they pursue entrepreneurship, and as they seek personal growth. It involves creating a supportive and non-judgmental environment, both for yourself and for your clients. If you're not sure what holding space is or how you might actually hold space for another person, here's what you need to know. Before you can hold space for others, you must first cultivate self-awareness. Reflect on your own emotions, any biases that you might hold. Understanding your own emotional landscape allows you to approach others with empathy, with compassion, and with authenticity. As you're cultivating self-awareness, you learn to listen not only to the person's words, but also to any emotions or any nuances that you pick up. This fosters a deeper connection and understanding with your client. A non-judgmental environment, father, a mother, a sibling, whatever you want it to be. So let me say it again. Holding space involves creating a safe and non-judgmental environment where your clients, or insert whatever relationship, feels free to express themselves authentically. Practice suspending judgment, avoiding assumptions, and embracing the acceptance of others without trying to fix or change them. A great way to practice holding a safe, non-judgmental space for your clients is to practice in your day-to-day life. So, who do you want to be and how do you want to show up? Those questions don't just pertain to your business, but actually to your whole life, day in and day out. As I mentioned a moment ago, a cornerstone of holding space is empathy. That means to understand and validate the emotions and experiences of others. And this doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they say, but acknowledging and respecting different perspectives is crucial for creating a supportive space. And while holding space is about being open and receptive, it's also important to set and maintain healthy boundaries. You can support others without actually taking on their burdens. It isn't always easy, but try to establish and communicate boundaries. Everyone benefits when there is clarity of boundaries. And remember, boundaries are actually for you, not the other person. Finally, holding space requires mindful presence. That means being fully engaged in the present moment. Cultivate mindfulness practices such as meditation, deep breathing, and grounding exercises. By practicing mindfulness when you aren't With clients, you're more likely to stay centered and fully attuned to the needs of others when you are being in that supportive role, in that active listening role. There is so much more I can say, but just remember that holding space isn't just about providing a listening ear, but it's also about facilitating growth. And I truly consider myself blessed to have her in my life. As an integrative practitioner and educator, Valerie Voner has and continues to work in a variety of communities, sharing various modalities and creating community. Valerie has been in the field of integrative practices for most of her life. She is the founder and principal of New England Institute of Reflexology and Universal Studies, where she still teaches approved continuing education in massage, reflexology, Reiki, and yoga. Valerie is the former coordinator of the Cape Cod Community College Massage Therapy Program, as well as former education director of Cortiva Institute. She is also a practicing holistic health coach and a published writer. And she has a quote as she signs off her emails that says, "I believe every body has a story to tell. Working with clients is a dance that seeks to discover what each individual needs and then to assist that body in healing itself. It is my honor and joy to serve through body work." And this evening, it is my honor and joy to share with you my conversation with my mentor, Valerie Voner. Valerie Voner, can I just say how excited and how honored I am to have you here on my podcast?
Thank you, Pascal. I'm as honored as well to be with you.
Oh
Ah,
my word.
how far we have come.
Look how far we've come. For everybody who doesn't know Val, I just have to stop for a minute and go backwards because most of you know my story that um, we were in a car accident and I was on the massage therapy table at my chiropractor's and I got this voice in my head that said, I want to make people feel like this. And so I went back to school for massage therapy. Well, wasn't Val the head of the massage therapy program where I went back to school? And so I got to know Val that way. And also, um, I did my first Reiki attunement with Val. And I, you just hold such a special place in my heart. And I am honored to call you my friend and my colleague and all the things. And I'll stop gushing now.
Thank you. But I loved everything you just said. And I feel the same way. And when I'm like, Pascal, yes. And there's this happy dance that happens. So
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
definitely the bubbles, the happy bubbles. Yeah.
that makes my heart so happy. Like, that's all I can hope for in life, right? Is to make people feel like that.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's what you do.
Anytime I tell someone about you, I'll say, "Oh, Val Vonner, she led my massage therapy program. I did my first Reiki attunement." I tell them all about it, like what it felt like, everything. And I'm like, she's just an old hippie. Like, she really lives it.
That's the truth.
That's the
I'm an
truth.
old
That's
hippie.
what I say.
Yeah, I still call myself a hippie.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean it in the most loving, kind way. Like, you embody all the things that you talk about. It's not just your sign on the door.
Yeah, that is true. I do believe for me, living what I'm doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and loving what I'm doing. So
Yeah. So let's talk about that before we get into what you're doing now. How did you, I mean, clearly it was the age where you grew up, but also, how did you become a hippie? Like, what did that look like for you? How were you drawn to that? What did that feel like?
it was a radical time when I was growing up. I'm 74, so doing the math, we're going way back, and it was radical. And I definitely had a piece of the radical, and growing up in a very traditional Italian and Greek family and saying, I'm not going to be like this. And my whole generation was saying that. That was kind of we held space for that thought, you know, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. I never even thought I was going to have children, but that was a gift that came later. So my feeling was to speak out and meet and be with other people who had the same beliefs. So we were kind of creating new belief systems, even though they were old, but we were speaking it out of our mouth. And it just grew from there. And I really didn't realize that I was a radical being. I just was being me. And I loved every minute of it. And I still feel like I'm a nomad. I'm still exploring. There's new things every day. I'm like, oh, what's this that I can try? So
I
that's,
love that about you. You're
yeah.
so free spirited. And I mean, I like to say that I live in the flow of the universe. And so when the universe puts something in front of me, just like massage therapy school, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm listening. And that's the direction I'll head. And I feel like you exemplify that. You literally, like you said, you're a nomad and you just go with the flow and what comes
Yeah.
next for you.
Yeah. It's like, to me, mindfulness is being in the moment,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and we're not always in the moment, of course, but, you know, it's a good tool for me to catch myself if I find myself not being there and, oh, wait, hold on, take a breath, get back on track. And so that's a good tool that I've been able to really use.
One
I
of
have my
my
spinnings. That's it. The zoomies, though, are, you know,
That's real. That's
yeah,
absolutely real. And if we can pay attention to being mindful, even though none of us are perfect at it, we're more likely to be in the moment if we keep bringing ourselves back, right?
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
One of my favorite memories of you is in class. It was a complementary healing class, and you started teaching us about energy and energy healing. And I was sitting there kind of uncomfortable, but so intrigued. And I raised my hand and I'm like, but I'm a Catholic. You're like, put your hand down. I am too. So it's fine.
Right, because it's all of that. It is all of that, and we can honor and respect all of that.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
there's so many things I loved about growing up and going to church and what it was like, and all those pieces I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I feel exactly the same way. And at the same time, I feel like I started here in this little box. And now my box has really the sides have just kind of fallen down. And then there's been so much expansion and so much more beauty has come in. And I feel like all that has done is honor and support what I started out with in the little box.
Yes, yes, and in your space, your holding space has become bigger. It's allowing you to hold space for more people in the
Yeah.
service that you give.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I'm a much more loving, kind, accepting, non judgmental, hold space kind of a human than I was, 30 years ago, for sure.
Yeah,
And so even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, last year, like we're on a journey for the rest of our lives, right?
we are. And there's always these moments being thrown at us that are little tests, like, did I just actually think that thought? No, let me erase that, throw it away, because in all of this, we're human,
Yeah.
and so we're in the great uh, container of the world with all the other humans. So we pick
Yeah.
up a lot of stuff from other humans.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's like the chicken and the egg. I'm wondering what came first for you, the mindfulness or the energy work?
The energy work, definitely. Even as a kid, I remember clearly saying things, um, being really empathic and being told, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. That's a dream, or things like that, which I'm sure all heard,
Yeah.
because no one ever spoke about that stuff. And I just did. And my yaya was which is grandmother, a Greek grandmother, and she was a coffee grind reader. So, So I used to go, she would have the ladies over, in the neighborhood. And it was a very mixed Italian, Greek, Irish. It was a very mixed neighborhood. And she would read the grinds for them. So, of course, I had to be right in the middle of it. What are you doing? What's this? Blah, blah, blah. And one day she read somebody and I saw something different, more. And I said, but what about this? And my grandmother said, oh, let her do it from now on. And she like put me in my place, but I was free to be. So yeah, that definitely was, I couldn't do that in my mom's house though, only in my grandmom's house.
Oh, interesting. And so this was your father's mother?
No, it was my mother's mother.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. 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 And so eventually she calmed down about all that. But I think her generation, my mother lived till she was 95 and she only died a few years ago. So her generation, she was first generation. Her parents were immigrants. Her generation had to be perfect. They had to speak American, not even English. They had to speak American. And so everything had to be perfect. And anybody who was in charge was the boss. And so that's a lot of, it took me a while, of course. Then I think when I was a teenager, I really realized how programmed my mother was,
Yeah.
And so that was part of her. She was afraid. And I was always the kid. We're playing outside in the yard and we take wood and we put it across the the two brick places. So come on, let's go. We're being pirates. And I was always the one who went first. So I was always the one with the bloody nose, the bloody mouth. It's like, and if I would go and my mother would go again. And I was like, well, somebody had to try it.
I
So
love it. You've
yeah,
always been a leader, Val.
yeah, and always got in trouble. So, but it wasn't bad trouble. I mean, like my mom going, so we had fun and we did things. And I think because she was so fearful, and I think probably that whole generation, my generation was blatantly out there. Let's try this. What's that? What's this? Plus the things that were happening in the greater world. And that started the call for service. How can we help fix this? What my generation did, thank goodness this young generation, who's also very mindful and aware, isn't doing the radical stuff that we did, because that didn't do anything. But that was the path.
But you know what it did is it started the path, right? Because that's the hard work, is starting a new path. Because if you're trying to walk through the tall grass, it's so difficult. And someone, your generation, needed to start tamping down that grass
Yeah.
for the people coming after you. And so sure, everything didn't work, but darn if you didn't start that path.
Yeah, the door got opened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I think your daughter is the same age as my granddaughter. I think they used to go to
Yes,
school
they
together.
went to school together.
And so they're amazing. Oh my goodness, and so it's great to sit down and talk with her and what she thinks and what's happening. And I'm like, wow, this is a lot like how I was. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I look at the kids and I mean, they're 2/3 adults now. My kids, they're 20, 19, and 17.
Oh yeah.
And they teach me so much just from their perspectives, right? I mean, I feel like, wow, I'm so much more, I don't even know what the word is, maybe different minded than my parents were. And they were more different minded than their parents were, right? And so on it goes. But to be able, like, I think I'm an open-minded person and I think I'm accepting and I think I'm all these things. And then I look at them and I'm like, wow.
We are all like that. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I always said I'd never parent like my mother. And for the most part, I probably didn't. But I was very strict. Where did that come from? being, like I look now and I know it was good for my kids because they probably couldn't have dealt with the freedom that I had in that, because it's a different world now. So I was very strict within the sense of what they had to look at and what they were growing up in and that kind of things. Because we didn't grow up in that.
No. And again, now, another generation later, it's like, oh my gosh. And you have to go intuitively, right? I think that every generation of parents do the best they can with what they know. And I feel that way about grandparents and my parents and, us. And now to my parents or to my children, my daughter, who's 20, already has a list of things. She's like, Mom, I started a list when I was a kid of all the things that I like that you and dad did and all the things that I didn't.
Amazing.
That way I had a kid's perspective. So when I had kids, I would understand how they were feeling. I'm like, what? Who
That's great.
thinks like that?
Wow, that's so wonderful. Because then she will think, and you probably just don't realize it. When we're doing things, we sometimes it's so here that it's not here.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, I remember what this was like when I was this age. So
Yeah.
I don't want them to have that experience. We did that, I just think, innately. But how incredible that she literally made it all.
Literally has a list in a
Yeah,
journal,
yeah.
all the things she liked that we did, the way that we parented, all the things she didn't. She's like, so when I have my kids, I'm going to refer back to that list. I'm like, Isabel, you do that, honey, because I think that's brilliant.
There's a book. There's a class. Oh my goodness.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like this generation, they have so much to teach us.
You
I
know.
think the thing that I've learned the most about parenting is not to be reactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And
Just
in
still.
life, right?
Yeah. 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 Not to react is especially our children, your children, my children, well, they're my grandchildren, but they've gone through stuff we've never gone through, especially the past few years.
Yep.
My children did too, but they're adults. So the younger people having to sit in the house and not be able to go out and not be able to go anywhere and go on to school online, which is not fun.
No, that's a different kind of trauma.
Yes. Yes. And seeing how they reacted and how the teachers reacted, because the poor teachers, they probably hated it even more than the students.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, they literally had to start all over.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that I think about a lot, about how it has affected everybody and how blessed to have tools to be able to even think about that. And then being around people maybe who are reacting and going, yeah, you know what? It's just their fear right now.
Mm, yeah.
Everybody lived in so much fear for what, 2.5 years?
Yeah. And fear became the normal.
Yes.
And so, how do you switch out of that? Right. Again, that was a trauma, whether people want to see it that way or not. It was a trauma on society, on the world.
Yes.
And we have to heal from that trauma,
Yeah. All of us.
all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the isolation, even if you were within your family unit, the isolation was still isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really so little by little. I do see we're beginning to unfold, and you do see more people beginning to be able to interact rather than react. It's slow, but it's happening. Um, when we are living in a world that's so reactive right now. Oh my goodness. So, but I have complete faith that what we're in this dimension right now is moving and opening, and more people are beginning to interact.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And the collective vibration is rising.
Yes.
And so much of the old paradigm is starting to fall away. But as that's happening, that in itself can be very scary for a lot of people because they don't know what to do if it's not the comfort of what they've always known.
Amen. It's true. And then that makes people reactive and angry.
All it's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I we're all in service, and so I know that all of us collectively have recognized this and hold space for everyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And people also are leaving; they don't want to be involved in it anymore. Too, they just are like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. You know, and that's part of the cycle. But
Absolutely. That's part of the paradigm shift
it
is
is,
an awakening of this isn't working. We lived with it because it was normal, quote
yeah.
unquote, and it was comfortable. But now that the snow globe's been shaken up,
Yes.
where do I want to land when I land again? Maybe not in that because that was kind of gross, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And we all just did go along to go along because that was how things were.
Right.
Even within, maybe we had our own way of not going along, but we still did it in like you said, in the greater paradigm, we were all in that.
Yeah.
And lots of people now who want to go off the grid, I get it. I understand it. They just want to be off the grid and live a life that's, you know, no electricity or flush toilets. I
Yeah.
won't be doing that, but I totally get it. If I was younger, probably I would, but not
Yeah.
now. But I understand it because they're out in the woods and they have their own space, and maybe they know somebody who lives an hour away,
Yeah.
who's doing the same thing. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But props to my dad when he was a kid and my grandparents who had outhouses like,
Oh,
oh, sweet Mary in the dead of winter. Imagine
oh,
we're
yeah.
very spoiled.
Yeah, we are. We are. When I lived in Jamaica is when it hit home because I lived there for quite a while and my son was little and I really wanted to be there. I wanted to live there and I did. Um, and I lived in Negril, well, past Negril, actually, so even further out on the end of the island. So there wasn't electricity, there wasn't running water. There was toilets, interestingly enough, but if you wanted to take a shower, you had to go in your bathing suit to Rick's Cafe, and they had an outside shower, and you could take a shower there. And I will tell you, I completely, that's when I understood what we have here. And that's when I realized we're very blessed because I was living in a population of people who are wonderful, lovely, and they feel very blessed, can't leave the island. They are there, they can't leave. And they're still, they understand joy and happiness. They have to walk for miles to get to a market. And I came home saying, you know what, that was a book of learning how to live and appreciate what you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that mindfulness piece that you carry, I can imagine that that became even more solidified during that time because you had to be in the moment.
you
There
did.
weren't all the other distractions. I mean, I guess you didn't have to be, but
Right.
you were in the moment because there weren't all the other distractions.
It was nothing,
Yeah.
so I set up a little store because you could capture land. I mean, it was that interesting.
Wow.
And I had a little shop so I could do massage. And I was prepared because my friends that came from Jamaica said, okay, bring some barrels with, dungarees and this and that, because, then you can set up space, do your craft, and also have things to sell. Of course, at a very different price, but I mean, denim is gold.
Yeah.
So it was an incredible learning experience, one of many that I've had in different cultures, but that was the one that made me say, okay, you come from the United States and you're very lucky. You have
Yeah.
no idea how lucky. You have toilets that flush, you have showers that go on. I mean, it was that basic. And to this day, when I step in the shower, I go, thank you. It's It can be warm water, it can be cold water, it's pretty incredible.
It's clean water.
It's clean. Yeah. And I was really, what a blessing that was. And the more I stayed, the more I realized that I was going to leave because my son was getting older and I didn't want him to go to school there. Um, but what I learned and about joy, this lady, we used to call her the fruit lady. She would walk from Savlamar to Negril. I don't know how many miles that was. Every day she did. I think she rode her bicycle there to Savlamar, probably rode her bicycle to Negril. I don't know how she carried everything. But then she would walk from Negril way up to where I was the last person. And she would carry the fruit on her head. And she always had something for my son, for Taylor. There was always some kind of piece of fruit she saved just for him, right? And he was 3 when we first were there, and then he got a little older, but yeah. And I'll never forget her. She was one of the most strongest human beings, and then she would walk all the way back. So I like, if she saw something that I had, I would say, "You like that skirt?" She got the skirt, because
Absolutely.
yeah. And because that was her goal. She was bringing me the fruit, and I was giving her like really nice clothes for her.
Yeah,
But wow,
that's beautiful.
you know,
What a beautiful way to live.
it is. It's hard though too, but yet she was always happy, always.
Yeah. See?
I mean, I know it was
What
a
is it?
bubble.
What do you think it is that it's so hard and she was always happy?
I think probably. Well, I imagine if I get scientific for a minute and think about like the hormones that, especially as massage therapists, oxytocin, you know, massaging somebody makes them happy, right? I think she grew up in a loving, touching family because she would always hug T. She would give me a hug. I would give her a hug. So there was that. And I think she liked her service. Because, if we like our service, we're not working.
That's it. If you want to be happy,
Yeah.
get busy helping someone else because that's when you're going to feel all the happiness.
Right. And so I loved that woman, and she was always there. And twice I had to leave the island and then I'd get more barrels and come back. And she was like my sister, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was great. And again, it is a bubble because it's very hard to live there. But I met many people who were just happy.
Mm. And what an impact on your life, that you take with you into another world when you come back to the United States.
That's right. And realize stuff is nothing.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's really humanity. And of course, I had been a massage therapist for a long time by then, but and so I knew the science stuff. But then to actually live with people who are happy,
Mm.
you know,
What a blessing.
I know. And so I was like, I'm going to always be happy now. I'm not going to waste my time on the other stuff. That doesn't mean I don't get crabby. It doesn't mean I don't get mad, but I'm pretty quick about that's not fun.
Yeah. It's not fun. And why am I wasting my time?
Yeah,
It's not worth my energy. Yeah.
we're only here for a short while.
True that.
Yeah.
True that. And so, we've talked about you being a massage therapist and we've talked a little bit about you being an energy worker, but I also want to go into reflexology
Mm.
because I could talk to you all day, but I know that our window of time isn't very big. So let's talk about reflexology and how that became part of your life.
Yes. Well, when I went to massage school, it was very different. So there was no specialties. So basically, you went for like a year every day. And it was mostly, we were all young. So you went during the day, and then at night, you went to work. I was like probably 19, 20. So, and it was a year and a half. So you learned everything. You learned like all the little things that get broken down now and talked differently in massage. Um, reflexology was one of them. And because I liked energy so much, reflexology was unbelievable. It still is to this day. Touching people's feet, knowing that, oh, I'm touching somebody's eye right now. I'm 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 working on their pineal gland. Oh, your knee hurts today. Okay, I'm going to make sure I do extra work on that without ever touching their knee.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of an hour, because they're also getting reiki, of course, but it doesn't matter. At the end of that hour, they are like a limp noodle, and it's not a lot of pressure. I mean, of course, there's some. Um, but it's just to see the effect of touching somebody's feet, and that's it. And then and now I'm getting lots of people who have anxiety,
Mm.
i.e., what we were just talking about. So, reflexology to me is one of the most stunning body work pieces there are. I say I'm an integrative body worker because I do use a lot of things, but I would say reflexology is my love.
I love that.
Yeah.
When I think about you, I would say that's the main thing that first comes to my mind. And then Reiki, of course, because,
Yeah.
you know,
You're doing it
uh,
all the time. We're doing it to
massage
each other.
therapy is at the bottom probably, but that
Yeah.
was, just the basics of it all.
Yeah.
But so for anybody who's listening and doesn't really understand what you mean when you say, I can work on your knee without even touching your knee, can you just give like a broad scope of what reflexology is?
Yes. So reflexology is definitely body work. It's a simple thumb and finger technique, kind of like if you think about in the spring when you're walking on the sidewalk and you see the little green inchworm, it's that kind of a work. So you're like being an inchworm, but you're touching. So the feet have points, reflex points that represent every single part of the body, every single part. And the foot is divided into like from the head to the shoulders. So what's here? What's all anything that's in here is going to be on the toes because that's the head. And that's each part. So head to shoulders, then shoulders to diaphragm, then diaphragm to waist, then waist to sciatica. So that's your plantar bottom of your foot and the top of your foot. And then the sides of the feet have to do with the central nervous system, spine, and then the extremities, the actual physical extremities. So it's a whole body treatment on the feet.
It feels like magic, honestly. I
It's,
did not know that the spine and the extremities were on the sides of the feet. I didn't remember that.
yep. So the outside, well, you probably, we did the spine, which is on the inside
Hmm.
of the feet. We probably didn't cover in school, you mean, when we
Yeah.
did it in school? Yeah, we probably didn't cover the outside edge, which is the extremities.
Okay.
I think we had what, 18 hours?
Yeah. I don't even know, but
Sure.
I feel like it all went by in a blink.
I still have pictures in an old phone when we were doing those things.
Oh my gosh.
I'll have to find them. I don't know if the phone will even charge anymore, but um, that was before the cloud, so I don't know.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Such amazing memories, though. And it really is like magic, even though it's not. I
yeah,
love now that Eastern medicine is becoming so much more prevalent in
yes.
Western society.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. It's thank goodness there's a real blend, and finally, you get allopathic medicine that is really saying we need to learn this other stuff. We need to learn fundamental work, and they're really doing it. So, yay for them because that's huge to now say, no longer I am the healer. Now I'm like, here is people who are really wanting to share and serve.
Yeah.
They're probably loving their work much more.
And the way that you say you're an integrated body worker, I feel like the physicians, the healers that you're talking about, they're integrated as well. And I think the goal, and I've never thought about this before, but I think the goal is that we all just become integrated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, okay, I'm an integrative practitioner. You're an integrative practitioner. This other person is also. And I have specialties. You have specialties. This other person does. One of the things I've always liked to do, and I am seeing people doing it more, even though, we live in a country that does compete, competition's like big, and I get it, but you do, I'm sure, do things in a much better way on certain conditions than I would. And
Right.
maybe, and this other person, same thing. So I'm huge on, I'm not the right person for you.
Yes.
I'm huge on
And if I'm not the right person for you, that's okay.
it. It's fine. And let me look and see, because I do know people who are really good at this.
Yeah.
And that's how everybody grows.
Yeah. So with reflexology, you started the Reflexology Institute,
Yep.
and that was on Cape Cod. Yes.
When I first started it, I was way back in Cambridge, but it wasn't like anything big. Then I moved to Onset, and Onset was, which I consider the Cape,
Yeah.
was where it first bloomed, and I got licensed by the state, and all of that. Um, and then I continued that. Then I went over the bridge, and now it's a post office box because I move around so much. And my practice is based in Dennis, my hands-on practice, but my teaching right now is in New Bedford and Fairhaven.
Wow.
You know,
Okay. Back to the nomad.
yep. It's like I'm like, well, you know what? Because I love working on the Cape, but a lot of people don't want to come over that bridge
Absolutely.
one way or the other. They don't want to.
Either way, that's right. If you have to go
Yes,
over the bridge from this Cape side, it's just like, I don't know, is it worth going over the bridge?
I know.
Like,
Yes. And do I have to get stuck on it? And
is there
and then
traffic?
people don't want to come. Like people are coming from the Berkshires. They don't, although they have come, but they're coming all the way and coming over the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dennis is pretty far down Cape.
Yep.
So if you're not already on Cape, that's pretty far, especially when there's traffic.
Exactly. Right. We won't even talk about that.
No, that's the T word. We don't like the T word.
No.
Oh, amazing. So now, um, is it the Reflexology Institute still, or is it New England Reflexology and Massage?
So my business is New England Reflexology Massage, my integrative practitioner business.
Okay.
And on my website, there'll be a place where now classes come in, and the heading will change to New England Institute of Reflexology. Yeah,
You're amazing.
yeah, because it's different, So I need to be able to say that to people so they don't get confused. They
Yeah,
probably still do. I'm not the greatest on that stuff.
you are the greatest. You're the greatest. And you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because what they're receiving is you, and what they're receiving is energy, and what they're receiving is healing. And it doesn't matter what you call it.
Yes, it's so true. It doesn't. When we speak, like right now, we're giving each other happy stuff. And we're
Absolutely.
not even near each other,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So,
being in your presence, even if it is virtual, just makes me, I feel like everything inside of me is a warm hug.
oh, good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like, I knew you when you first came and you were wonderful. And then you exploded into this fabuloso stuff. And I'm like, wow, you know, like, look at this lady. It's great. It's
I
so
love
exciting.
you.
And
You were a huge part of that. I mean, you were the light, I guess, right? That lit the fuse because
good.
I didn't even know what I didn't know. And so to be exposed to everything that you exposed us to really just lit the match, you know?
Thank you. That makes me really feel great. And for me, as a teacher, as a as a holder of space, I want everyone to become better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And that means I did my job.
You did your job, lady. You did your
Thank you.
job.
Yeah, thank you.
So before I never want to cut this conversation off, but one of the things I like to talk about is how do you integrate your connection with the cosmos, your energy healing, all of that? How does that relate to the way that you do business?
It's always there. It's always there. So and you know it's there. A new person comes in, and immediately I love everybody that comes to me. But then they love me back. It's like, or they don't come again. And
Right.
that's okay. I wasn't the right person, you know. So so I feel that it's always there. And walking on the street when you pass people and they see you coming, and I like to smile a lot. So I'm smiling and then they're smiling, and then we're both engaging energetically,
Yeah.
you know. And I've noticed, I don't know, hopefully everybody has, that the past week approaching, the one's in Gemini right now, correct? I'm pretty sure it's in Gemini.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is, which means there's a lot of good time for business, good time for changing, good time for thinking. But I've been noticing people walking down the street and the sun is shining. So, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep smiling. People are smiling back.
Oh,
So something shifted, because sometimes people don't smile back.
yeah.
And I'm like, yay, whatever it is, I want to be part of this.
And I want more of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
so
it.
I'm like, okay. So every day I live in New Bedford now. And I live right downtown in New Bedford.
Oh my God, you have the best food down there.
They do. They do. So, so I come out onto the street, in downtown, and there's all kinds of people, and I just say hello, good morning, hi, and I think at first people didn't maybe take to it. I'm a Cambridge girl. I've always been a Cambridge girl. Doesn't matter where I live. But eventually now people are like, hi, hi, and I'm like, yay,
Mhm.
they're feeling happier.
Yeah. And when we talk about doing your small part to raise the collective vibration, that's a great example.
Yeah, and it's easy because you
Easy.
feel happy if you're smiling.
Yeah. And that's how you run your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. So, is there anything that you want to talk about and offer to listeners that you want to bring their attention to? What do you have going on that's amazing besides everything?
Oh, well, I do have my annual reflexology class coming, and that will be on the website. And it's a spring. I teach once a year in the spring, and it's March, April, May. And then people are reflexologists. It's a lot of work, so they have to really want to do it. But when they're done, they're really, really good. And that's, and so spreading that is part of my mission. And I teach reiki. um, I teach how to do tarot, how to really read tarot. What does it really mean energetically, not just by the book? I didn't know there were books at first. Like I told you, my grandmother taught me how to read coffee grinds.
So
So
cool.
you know and I guess I would say to people, find your joy. Find your joy. Do you love your job? If you don't, you still have to keep your job, you got to work. But what would you love to do? And then follow that path,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
That's it.
And
I've been a bartender, I've been a waitress, I've cleaned houses, but I always wanted to touch people. So,
yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that maybe you don't like your job, but when you can shift the way you think about your job and think, this is funding the thing that makes me joyful until I can just do that full time, it
yes.
changes how you think about your job. Now you have an appreciation for the fact that it's funding your joy.
Yeah, that's perfect. That is perfect. Save that comment. and
Yeah.
post it. That is so perfect. And that's exactly true.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And so then you do the job you really didn't like better.
Right.
Yeah.
Because once you understand truly that we're all connected, we truly are all one,
Yes.
why wouldn't you want to do everything you do as best as you can?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And find everybody has a love. They just might not have found it yet.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. It's all part of the process.
Just keep swimming.
Yes.
I am going to post your website to show notes, and
Thank
that
you.
way anyone can check out what you offer and how to get in contact with you. And I think I saw on your website that your spring reflexology starts in March. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So, just to give anyone who's listening, if they're like, "Oh no, it's spring. Have I missed it?"
No.
Starts in the beginning of March. So I'll post that. And Val, thank you so much. I want to have you back again because I could talk to you forever. You're always, always, always in a special little place, the heart in my heart.
Thank you so much. That just makes me feel like I could cry. Happy cry.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
always happy cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I enjoyed being with you, talking with you, sharing with you.
Okay, now can you see why I love and adore Val so very much? There are just some people who come into your life and change you forever. And Val is that person for me. You can connect with Val by clicking on her link in show notes. And if you're looking for a community of amazing space holders, click on the link in show notes to join Women Finding Clarity's private Facebook community called Connection and Clarity. I'd love to welcome you into our sisterhood. Remember, the universe is abundant and success is your birthright. Let's align, elevate, and thrive together, one conversation at a time. Good night. Thank you for being in our Women Finding Clarity community. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite listening platform and share it with someone you know so they can find clarity from the conversation as well. Remember, the universe is abundant and success is your birthright. Let's align, elevate, and thrive together, one conversation at a time. See you next week.